we find ourselves in the middle of nowhere. And sometimes, in the middle of nowhere, we find ourselves. When I was 24 years old, I made a decision that changed my life forever. What did I do? I moved to India, a country I always felt connected to and drawn to, but yet knew so little about. I did know that growing up and watching my mother, Bollywood movies were unrealistic musicals about love, and that there were cows everywhere. But I didn't really know a lot more. Was I scared? Yes. I was frightened. But my inspiration came from my father, who around the same age also made a choice to move to a country he barely knew anything about. He made a choice to help change his life, to come to America, a country where he had no friends and no family, to pursue a dream and vision he had for his life. That decision not only changed his life, but my life. So when I took him as my inspiration, I knew that when I went to India, I was also going to make a change in my life, and hopefully someone else's. Now, the only culture my parents ever taught me was, please take off your shoes before entering our house, and always call elders auntie or uncle. I couldn't speak the language, 2 languages actually, Telugu and Hindi, and all the people that I interacted with daily could not speak English. So let's just say there was a huge language gap and a lot of me talking with my hands. So fast forward a few months into my journey to where my change really began. In India, a bazaar is a one-stop shop. It's an outside market where you can find anything and everything. There's a butcher located beside a vegetable stand, and he's located beside a fabric store, and the fabric store is located beside a tea stall, and it's just a whole bunch of people located beside each other. Now, on the streets, you'll have thousands of people, you'll have cows, you will have motorcycles, bicycles, goats, you name it. We're all sharing the same bazaar street to get what we need for the week or for the day. Now, I found a bazaar that I felt comfortable in visiting. It was farther away from home, a lot less crowded, clean, and it felt like a safe place for me. You see, in India, every bazaar has a character, something that makes it different from the other bazaar. Whether it's the small streets that we call in India gullies, or it's how they sell items, you start to learn the ins and outs of a bazaar, and then that becomes the bazaar that you frequent for your daily or weekly activities. So I found a bazaar that I felt safe in. I knew the ins and outs. And it was great, but every time I would come back home, through the taxi window, I would see another bazaar, closer to home, a lot more crowded, a little overwhelming when you would look at it, but yet super interesting. And it always appealed to me, what is that bazaar like? So one day, I decided to take a walk in that bazaar. It was a hot monsoon day, I still remember it, and instead of going to the normal bazaar, which was 45 minutes away, I decided to go to the bazaar, which was right down my house, about 15 minutes away. As I stepped into that bazaar, I was scared. But the more I walked into the bazaar, the more I realized it was a lot like the other bazaar. Yes, it was a little bit more crowded and at first very uncomfortable, but the bazaar was just like the other bazaar I would frequent. And as I walked down into the bazaar, I found a piece of fabric, a bright, colorful, hand-woven piece of fabric. The minute I saw it, I wanted it. So I bought it. It was a lot less than I anticipated buying the fabric for, which made me really happy, and also through my assumptions that the minute I go to the bazaar, they're going to charge me extra because I'm an outsider. So after I bought this piece of fabric, I kept walking deeper into the crowd. I was taking in the smells, some sweet, some not, and the people and the place and everything about this experience. It was beautiful. And I was enjoying this experience until a stranger came up to me and quickly asked me a question, and I couldn't understand her, so I took a moment. And then when I did hear her question, it was very simple. Can I help you? Now, at that moment, I was like, am I doing the wrong thing in this bazaar? Did I not do the right thing? Am I walking in the wrong way? How is she going to help me? But as she started talking to me more, I realized that she wanted to help me with a piece of fabric that I had in my hand. So as we started talking, she told me that she wanted to take this piece of fabric that I had in my hand, and she wanted to make a beautiful kurti for me. And that's exactly what I wanted. But I was also very skeptical of this stranger that just came up to me and asked me for this piece of fabric, and I don't even know her. But because I already made a choice that day to step into the unknown and face my fears, I decided to trust a complete stranger with this piece of fabric. Now, we exchanged numbers, and I told her my idea, and a few days later, she came back. The piece of fabric was turned into a beautiful kurti that fit me perfectly. Everything that I dreamed of and imagined was right there in front of me. And I didn't even have to go far or ask anyone. She came to me. Now, we started talking, and she started telling me her story. Now, Divya, she was 14 years old when she was married. And it was an arranged marriage. And the minute she married, she came into her in-laws' house where her and her husband lived, and she had to be the help, clean, cook, do everything that her mother-in-law asked and everything that her husband asked. She wouldn't really leave the house for work, but her work was everything she had to do at home. By 18, she had 2 boys. And as she was getting older, she would do the same thing every day, not able to go out in the world and work because her husband provided for her. But at the age of 24, the same age as me, her life changed. You see, it was an evening where she was making dinner for her family. And she called her husband a few times, and he didn't come downstairs to eat. And so she didn't know why. She went upstairs, and she found her husband hanging from the ceiling fan. Now, when she told me that, I already burst out in tears, because she was the same age I was when I had a change in my life. But the thing that really hit home was what she said after this whole story. She said, yes, I felt like I lost everything, but when I saw him, I just kept thinking, I don't want my boys to be the same as him. I don't want them to end up in the same place as him. And so I want them to get an education so they can do better with their life. At that moment, it hit me. It was like this dream was just on fire. I realized right then and there that I wanted to work with tenacious human beings like Divya, that take failure, that take chances, that want to make a difference in their lives and push forward. At that moment, I decided to start my fashion label. Now, I had no idea what I was doing, but I pretty much, as soon as I could, came up with a name and had Divya by my side, and we started a fashion label. It was art. It was handcrafted pieces of fabric that were handmade in India. And it was socially conscious and ethical, and it was everything good in these bags and these scarves and these pieces of fabric. Before Lush Bazaar, I was a young woman, scared of the unknown, and scared to embrace the world around me. After Lush Bazaar, I became a woman embracing the unknown and embracing the world around me. You see, our world is actually meant to help change us for the better. How many times have you made a breakthrough in your life by doing the same old thing? How many times have we all read books or listened to podcasts or TED Talks to try to make a positive change in our life? What if that change is actually in the world around us? Now, I'm not talking about taking a plane ticket and going to India or going to a completely different country. What I'm talking about is the world that we live in, our community, to embrace our neighbors, to embrace the different activities that are going around in our world. What if the real change is us taking a chance and exploring the world that we are in? Every experience will change us. The Japanese have a tradition called kintsugi, which means the golden journey or the golden repair. Now, this is a Japanese form of art where they take old pottery with the chips and the breaks and the cracks, and they fill it up with lacquer mixed with gold, silver, and platinum. You see, this is a philosophy where they embrace the past, the present, and the future, still holding on to that pottery, that shell, but yet adding different, beautiful inner lacquer inside to tell a story. We are like that pottery. We're all broken. But really, how are we broken? With every experience that we go through, with every new person that we meet, every new conversation we have, every new place we go to, a piece of our pottery is broken and something new fills that, something bright, gold, silver, platinum, that helps us shine in the world that we are in. But while we have this pottery and these experiences that fill our life pottery, it's important to embrace those experiences, learn from those experiences, help reach others with those experiences, help make a positive difference with those experiences. Experiences can come in so many forms. It can come from learning the bachata or going and experiencing cultural holiday. It can come from trying a new cuisine or even just venturing out to your neighbor and getting to know them. Experiences are what form us and what makes us better individuals. Now, it's not easy. It's not easy to make that change. It's not easy to go for those experiences or, put yourself out there. But it's worth it. Because the more you hold on to your fears and assumptions and arrogance, the more you are letting go of the changes that can come in your life and the world around you. The more that you hold on to these fears, the less experiences you'll have, the less brave you'll be, the less stories you'll have to share. I'm getting emotional, sorry. You see, we are all a lot alike. Every single person in this place has a story, has something that, even though it makes us different, still is something that connects us. Just let go of those fears. Have a conversation with your neighbor. Have a conversation with a homeless person for 5 minutes. You'll see that you have more in common with them than you thought. Try the kimchi instead of the sauerkraut. I promise you it'll be good. And if it's not, I'm sorry. I challenge you today to go outside of your comfort zones today, tomorrow, even the day after. Go try something new. Go speak with a complete stranger. Get to know somebody. Get to know the way they live, the way they move. How our world is so connected will blow your mind. It blew mine. I made a choice that day to go into a bazaar and face my fears. And Divya, she made a choice that day to go into the bazaar and look for work so she could support her family. We both were scared. I remember she told me, she just came up to me because I look like a stranger, and she thought, oh, well, I'll probably won't see her again if she says no. Well, here we are. I can tell you that that choice I made, it changed my life and Divya's. She got to send her 2 boys to school, one electrician now and one a plumber. And me, I'm here right now. I'm able to tell you this story. So what I leave you with is for you to take your life pottery and fill it with golden adventures, silver memories, and platinum friends. I found myself in the middle of a nowhere bazaar. So wherever you are, the unknown, I hope you find yourself, or take the road you need to travel to find yourself. And I promise you our world will be a better place. Thank you.